Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DRW Radio. I am Connor Underwood, your host, and with me for the first time ever, I have a legit professional wrestler on the podcast. Please pronounce your name.
My name is Shaukat.
Okay, this gentleman wrestles for Malaysia Pro Wrestling, and I was actually watching some of his videos, and you, sir, have incredible talent, and we're gonna list off a couple of questions here that have been asked from my followers and from some of my friends and big fans of yours.
All right, thank you.
So the first question is, how long have you been a professional wrestler?
I've only started professional wrestling for about 2 years now.
Awesome. Yeah, what made you become a professional wrestler? Like,
I started watching professional wrestling since I was 4. It was in 1992. I still remember my first match. It was The Undertaker versus Kamala in a casket match. It was then known as the WWF back then. So even when I was just a kid, I was only 4, but I somehow knew that professional wrestling is an art, to a form where I fell in love with the larger than life characters. I fell in love with the storytelling in the ring, and I watched wrestling all the way growing up, and I've always wanted to be a pro wrestler.
Undertaker versus Kamala in the casket match. That was amazing back in the good old days of the WWF. Uh, being a professional wrestler, it has got to be difficult schedule wise. Like, how long do you train? How often do you train? Uh, what? How long did it take you
it's a
to?
bittersweet thing, I would say, because in a way that I'm sorry.
How long did it take you to from training to finally get your first professional match?
All right, it took me about a year from training to getting my first professional wrestling match, and it's very difficult because a lot of people think that wrestling is easy. You just walk in, you can just do stuff, but that is very untrue. It's very, very difficult. You have to go through a lot of rigorous training. We train as hard as elite athletes would, and it took me about a year before I finally got my debut.
That is awesome. You said you watched the WWF. Do you still watch the WWE? Do you still keep up to date with all of that?
Yeah, I mean, being a pro wrestler, you have to be updated with everything. I mean, not just WWE, you have to watch everything else, like TNA, you have to watch ROH, New Japan Pro Wrestling, PWG, all of the other promotions, just to keep track of what's going on, who's who, what's going on, and who's the top stars right now.
You being in Malaysia, over there, in the Asian part of the world, ha, have you ever been to a New Japan event and been able to watch that live?
I haven't been able to watch New Japan live. I will be watching it live in November. I had an invitation from them. They will be having a show in Singapore, and they sent me an email. They invited me over to watch the show, so I am looking forward for that. But NJPW side, I've already watched a few WWE shows. I've watched WWE when it came down to Malaysia and our neighboring country in Singapore, and I went to Dallas, Texas to watch this year's WrestleMania. Yeah.
This year's WrestleMania was amazing, breaking attendance records, uh, truly setting a bar for professional wrestling. And apparently, you've been a fan for a very, very long time, and you've seen the different eras come in and out, and the change of the generations. From back in the '80s when it was the big guy Titan wrestling world to where in the '90s it was like still the bigger guys, but it wasn't huge. And now we're in 2016, and the cruiserweights are back. Uh, it's a light heavyweight world. Uh, where does that? How does that affect you as a professional wrestler? Uh, and like finding your style and like seeing what is going to get you noticed more, because the talent pool in the light heavyweights right now has got to be extremely like overwhelming right now.
Yeah, I do believe that it's a good opportunity for me because being an Asian, I am genetically small compared to the American counterparts. I am about 5 feet 7 tall, and I'm only about 160 pounds, so that makes me a cruiserweight.
Oh,
So
there you
with
go.
yeah, so with the implementation of the new cruiserweight division on WWE is just, I mean, it opens up a lot of doors for me and all of the other smaller wrestlers in Asia. So I think it's very, very cool. I mean, the moment when Daniel Bryan won the World Championship, that definitely opened our eyes and made us realize that it's not about the size, it's about how you work the crowd and how you work around in the ring.
Daniel Bryan winning the world title did change the wrestling world as far as the outlook on cruiserweights and light heavyweights. Uh, I was watching a few videos of yours, and you kind of did this D-Generation X thing in Malaysia Pro Wrestling when you were introducing a new GM. Was DX one of your favorite stables growing up?
Not really, because I was more a fan of the corporate ministry during that time. Being a huge fan of the Undertaker. I mean, but yeah, I mean, DX. I love them in the sense of how they work the crowd. They have a very unique kind of gimmick. They brought a lot of age into pro wrestling back then. But I was only I think I was in my teens back then, and DX was very, very vulgar. They were very adulterated. Um, and I'm the very, what do you say? I'm the very low key kind of person who prefers cleaner stuff like what WWE is having today, because I have a child of my own, and I always believe that us, the pro wrestlers, we need to be a role model. So I love DX, but not to a point where I would actually like emulate them or have them as an influence in my career.
Oh, see, I have a child of my own too, and I totally understand the outlook of PG. And that was going to be my next question: what you recommended more, like what you liked more, PG or TV 14? And PG era, they take away the blood and all the high risk matches. I mean, they still have TLC matches and all that, but you're not taking chair shots as stiff now. In Malaysia, I'm not real deep into the Malaysian wrestling world. I mean, I watched New Japan. I watched a lot of old Japanese and Chinese wrestling, all the death matches and stuff. Has that affected the wrestling world over there? Do you guys still do extreme matches, or do you guys still keep it PG like how it is here in America?
Well, Malaysia, it's a very reserved country. I mean, it's very reserved culturally, so we have to be careful with what we do in the ring, whatever we say. The crowd is very sensitive to this kind of thing, so we have to keep it PG. But we still have an extreme division in Malaysia Pro Wrestling, and there are hardcore matches where the weapons are allowed, but we do not allow our wrestlers to play. So basically, whatever happens to see, whatever blood you see in the ring is all accidental.
Oh, so you guys do allow hardcore matches. You guys just don't allow people to bleed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, see, that's how it is in the States. Sometimes we don't allow blood. And I gotta imagine, I mean, because back in the old days of like ECW and the hardcore days, people bled a lot in the ring.
Yeah.
And I gotta imagine that took years off their careers. So like that would help you out more in the long run, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Being a professional wrestler, you have to keep up to date with all of the professional wrestling world. A lot of stuff that happened recently involving a former professional wrestler, now turned MMA fighter. Did you watch CM Punk make his UFC debut?
Yeah, I did. I was looking forward to the match.
It was a very intense match. Again, if you are just joining us live, this is DRW Radio 119, and I'm live with a Malaysian Pro Wrestling pro wrestler. Again, pronounce your name, sir.
I am Shaukat.
Shaukat. This guy,
Yep.
you can find him on YouTube if you Google Malaysian Pro Wrestling, and if you Google his name, that's how I did. That's how I found Malaysian Pro Wrestling. Uh, he's been a wrestling fan ever since he was 4. His first match that he remembers is Undertaker versus Kamala in a casket match. And so far this has been a very, very successful radio show. Shaukat, what helped you come up with your name and your character?
But my name is actually I is Shaukat Fonseca. Shaukat is my middle name. It is given to me. It was named after my grandfather, my late grandfather. So basically, Shaukat is an Arabic word. It means prestige, like those the kings have. So I just decided to stick to that name and develop a character around it. So it seems to be going very, very well because I am one of the most over wrestler in Malaysia right now, and I'm also very look forward at my neighboring countries such as in Singapore and in Philippines.
That is awesome. Not too long ago, a few days ago, a Chinese wrestler, Ben Wong, made his WWE debut. With him finally making his WWE debut and all of that stuff, how does that affect, like, that's got to open up some eyes for you in your part of the world too, I assume, because now that the WWE is branching out more, does that make you think maybe they're going to look towards Malaysia as the next step, or does that make you worry a little bit?
When Daniel Bryan came down to Malaysia, I think earlier this year, I had the opportunity to have dinner and talk with him. So basically, he was saying that the WWE has a lot of plans where they wanted to branch out to a lot of smaller countries in order to recruit wrestlers, in order to gain audience from those countries. So basically, I felt that the moment when Daniel Bryan told me that personally, he said that yes, you have a chance. So that definitely lighted me up, and I told my friends here in Malaysia and Singapore, and everyone's happy about it. And then when Bin Wang got signed, and two of my friends actually from Hong Kong Wrestling Federation, Ho Ho Lun and Jason Lee, they were both signed for the CWC. We were ecstatic because if they can do it, then we can do it. And for sure, WWE is starting to look in the Southeast Asian region, and I feel it opens a lot of doors for us.
You said your friends were Ho Ho Lun and Jason Lee. I presume you watched the CWC all the way through. Ho Ho Lun, he helped found the wrestling promotion in Hong Kong, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, did you go be a part of that, or was that too early in your career?
Ho came down to Malaysia a lot of times to help develop the talents here. He would help seminars and stuff. And Jason Lee as well. He came once to help the younger guys in Malaysia to excel through seminars. So we got to know them. They're very cool guys. They're actually very, very talented.
That's amazing. I take it that you watched the CWC all the way through. Other than Jason Lee and Ho Ho Lun, who were your picks to win it all from the first round?
To be totally honest, I was actually rooting for Grand Metalik because I really, really love his style of wrestling. I love his storytelling. And Rich Swann. Rich Swann was amazing. His in-ring skills and his storytelling is just amazing.
Rich Swann was one of my picks. My original pick was Zack Sabre Jr. I watched him in PWG. He won the PWG World Championship earlier on this year against Roderick Strong, and he will be battling the Villain soon after the Villain picked up that huge Bola win. In tournaments like the CWC and Bola, that's gotta be. Is that your dream one day to compete in either the Bola or the CWC next year? Is that one of your missions in life?
Yep, definitely. That is actually my current target right now. That's my current goal for now. I'm working very hard for it, just to put my name out and try to get noticed by the scouts, and hopefully they get to be seen on one of these great tournaments.
Uh, other than the WWE, where would you love to go wrestle at? As like talking about PWG, NXT, TNA, New Japan Pro Wrestling, ICW, and all of them.
Hmm. For me, first choice would obviously be WWE because everyone watches WWE. It's mainstream. It is a mainstream wrestling. It is WWE is the first reason why most people watch pro wrestling because it's mainstream. Everybody watches it, and then from there they start to branch out to all the other promotions. But if we put aside WWE, I would love to go to New Japan. But from what I know right now is that New Japan is looking for guys who are only about 5 feet 9 inches tall, 5 feet 10 inches tall and above. So that takes me out of picture for a while. And so besides JPW, I think I am looking for um, PWG at least.
PWG seems to be a good spotlight for all the young wrestlers. Uh,
Yeah.
is there the PWG? Is there anybody in there right now that you would like love to face on your first match?
I wouldn't mind getting anyone, to be honest, because just for the opportunity to wrestle in PWG would be amazing.
Again, if you are just joining us, this is DRW Radio 119 with my special guest Shaukat. He is a professional wrestler in Malaysia Pro Wrestling, and this guy, it's been excellent talking to him so far. He's been a diehard wrestling fan. His current goal right now is to compete in one of the amazing tournaments, either BOLA or the CWC, amazing tournament like that. Shoka, we were talking earlier, and I don't know if all my viewers got to hear. You've been a professional wrestler for 2 years. Did you train for a year, and then you've been a professional wrestler for 2 years? So you put 3 years into this, or was he trained for a year, wrestled for a year? Shoka, are you still with us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry,
Okay.
the line was a bit off. What you were saying?
Uh, my viewers earlier, I don't know if everybody got to hear. You train for a year and you've been a professional wrestler for 2 years, or did you train for a year and wrestle for a year?
Ah, I see. I trained for a year, and then I wrestled for 2 years.
Awesome, awesome. Uh, your first match, was it like what you expected, or was it a little overwhelming?
It was exactly what I expected. He was in front of my home local crowd, and everyone was behind me because I don't know why, but probably because I pioneered pro wrestling in Malaysia. What I did was I started pro wrestling in the States, and then I brought it back to Malaysia, and because of that, pro wrestling starts to slowly grow in Malaysia, and I think because of that, the fans are very, very behind me. So I was fed by their energy, and I was very calm. I knew what I was doing, and it just went very beautifully.
That's awesome. And you said you're a big star over in Malaysia. Uh, have you won any world championships or
Well,
well?
I was the former MyPW Malaysia Pro Wrestling World to Regional Champion, and I'm currently in the title picture. I am going to face. I'm going to have my rematch in January for the title.
And what are your current dates where my fans can try to get tickets to come see you wrestle? What is your next event?
Well, I cannot really remember my dates. I'm very forgetful in that sense. I always write down my dates on my fridge. But I have a show coming up in Wrestling Star 3, which is in Thailand. It's in Pattaya. And then I have a match coming up in Singapore Pro Wrestling, which is in December. And in January, I have a match in Malaysia Pro Wrestling.
That's awesome. Uh in in Malaysia Pro Wrestling, I mean, I imagine that the talent pool isn't very huge. You said you pioneered Malaysia Pro Wrestling. So did like how is the talent pool over there? Like, is there a lot of companies or?
Yeah, I mean, there's only one company in Malaysia, which is Malaysia Pro Wrestling, and we have about like 23 wrestlers now, 23 wrestlers, and about we have a total of 30 plus students who are still in training. So 23 is actually a very very small roster, and those who are actually ready to perform are not as not all of the 23. And then because of this, we have to look out at our friends, our neighbors from other countries such as in Singapore, Philippines, and in Thailand. Like for example, our previous show, which was on this past Sunday, this past Saturday, it was called WrestleCon 2016. It was in conjunction with the local fan clubs here. So basically, we had to call in wrestlers from Singapore, our friends from Singapore Pro Wrestling, from Grapple Max Dojo, and then our friends from Kato Move Pro Wrestling in Thailand. So most of the Malaysia Pro Wrestling shows are always filled with talents from Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand.
That is truly awesome.